Well, Garten of Banban VI has released. Before we talk about it, before I review it and break it down, I just wanted to say that I now have 2 subscribers instead of 1, which I'm pretty happy about. I would be even happier if I could get some more subscribers, so I'd like you to subscribe and, hit the notification bell. That's the main things I want. Obviously, subscribe and hit the notification bell if you like what you see, if you like what you're watching. And now, I get into Garten of Banban VI. It's not a bad game, in my opinion. Of course, none of that objectivity stuff, just by my own metrics. It's gonna be a good deal more off the cuff than usual. It's kinda, for lack of a better word, the best word I have for Garten of Banban VI is slightly interesting, but very flawed. It's better than the nothing excuse of a game that is 1 and the very flawed but only mildly interesting 2, but it still doesn't compare to 3 and 4. It just doesn't, fundamentally speaking, and I will explain why. Although I should note that it's not irredeemably terrible by my own metrics. None of the Garten of Banban games are. So, what's the problem? What's the problem with Garten of Banban VI? Well, the problems I personally have with it. Let's start with the biggest one. Assuming the Euphoric Brothers haven't unblocked and unbanned, that would be the main one. If they just unblock, or at least unban him from Garten of Banban Roblox, I'm willing to be pretty forgiving. I will probably continue the series. I mulled it over for a while, but I decided that, I'll continue it. But to be ultra clear, there's just a lot of problems with it, generally speaking, from my own metrics. What are those problems, you might ask? Very simple, really. It's just, let's get started. So, Garten of Banban VI picks up where Garten of Banban IV left off, with us and Sheriff Toadster at an even lower level. Now, everything seems to be going alright for a while, but then we get one of these sort of things. Honestly, my biggest complaint is that they made Sheriff Toadster a bit of a mean person, I don't know if I can use this word on YouTube, so I'm not going to risk it. A D-bag? I was going to say D-O-U-C-H, but I don't want to risk getting demonetized. So I'm not going to take it in the long term, so I'm not going to take that risk. Because as I said before, I do want more subscribers, and I will probably at some point get more subscribers through one means or another. So, don't really want to be demonetized. So, how do I, really contend in the long term with this? So, major problem 1, it's way too difficult. Major problem 2, I understand they wanted to make it scary. I think they realized that the only horror-adjacent things they had in the game were, Corrupted Banban. I know that's not his true name, but again, demonetization. I'm getting 2 subscribers now, so that's a more real issue for me every time. Sorry, guys, but, I don't make the rules, I just play by them. Anyway, it's too difficult, it's trying too hard to be scary, which is in turn making things depressing. It's too depressing for most of the runtime. It's too angsty. I think Sheriff Toadster is not quite OOC. They can always fix him later, but I think he's kind of been not butchered, but mishandled to some extent, in my opinion. And the only characters who I'm really, really, really worried about are Bouncelia and Slow Celine. They both seem like they probably got axed You could definitely tell things are getting more and more serious. We're definitely starting to get into the really serious part. Maybe it's just my mood in general because of the weather and stuff, but it generally feels like Garten of Banban, you know, it's getting super serious now. Now, there was a lot of times where I was really afraid that, Bitter Giggle or Banban or someone else was actually going to be, killed until resurrection. And that, that really worried me. That really genuinely worried me because, that's a long way away. Yeah, I don't want to see them go, especially because, they're in previous stage. They could have a full thing until resurrection, so yeah. Stinger Flynn was criminally underused, but I understand they didn't want to overuse him too much. He was still in this game more than he was in the previous one. The dream sequence here was still the funniest part of the game. I love that they're doing more of those. As I said before, it's too scary, it's too depressing, it's too difficult. I think those are the main flaws. Too scary, too depressing, too difficult. And the real flaw that trumps all of these sort of things I have, and the flaw that I very much personally feel like is the biggest one, is, as I said before, they did not credit yeah for Bird Up. Now, if they unban him from the Banban Roblox thing, and perhaps even unblock him on their Twitter, that'll be the end of it. That'll be the end of it. That's it. That's straight up it. I'm going to continue reviewing it regardless, but I'll hold no real ill will towards the Euphoric Brothers. And if you're watching this, Euphoric Brothers, you need to unban yeah, and maybe even unblock him if you want to. And yeah, if you're watching this, you have a right to Bird Up. You deserve to fight for it. You are, to my knowledge at least, a good person. And assuming that you have no skeletons in your closet and you really are a fully good person, you need to fight for this, because you deserve to fight for it. I mean it. You deserve to fight for it. And as I said before, I personally wasn't that angry at it, but I can totally see why someone would be angry at it. Moving on to the later stages of the game, there was a lot of stuff that felt very, I don't know, iffy. See, let's move on to the third act. Now, the third act of this game is pretty alright. I think that's where it started improving. It's where I have my biggest criticism, but it's also where I have my biggest praises. The music in this game, though, was really good. They're really stepping up the musical game. Now on to the third act. The Bird Up stuff is followed shortly by Little Beak's electrocution and then being freed from their monster state. So this tells me that there's hope yet for an everything is going to be okay ending. Well, not ending, but leaving off point, especially for this saga. I have a feeling things will work out well in the end, in the long run. Not the long run, but in the run of this saga, which is getting into its, it is working its way towards its stopping place. I think things will turn out in a, good way. That was my indication. We get a puzzle that I expected to be the worst part of the game, but was actually tolerable. Well, I expected that to be the crowning achievement, and I think a lot of other people did as well, but it was alright, the platforming puzzle. And that leads us to our final thing. The main villain of this game, however, has a very dumb name. Sir Dee or something like that. I can't learn the right one, and even if I could, I probably couldn't pronounce it right, so I'm sorry for that, Euphoric Brothers, if you're watching this. I can't pronounce your main antagonist's name right. At least he's the main antagonist right now. He seems like a more main antagonist than Bitter Giggle. He seems like he feels like he was wronged in some way, which I have no idea what that's about. And then Nab Nab turns into a monster. Bitter Giggle jumps down a shaft. Banban fights them off, and then we're leaving. overall, what are my thoughts on this game? It has a lot of problems. It feels like a step back, but not necessarily in the wrong direction. I like what they were going for, but they leaned into it too hard. Horror needs to have counterbalancing elements, and I think the Euphoric Brothers forgot that for the first 2/3 of this game. I think there's real potential here, but they need to improve. And to stop pulling at our heartstrings and almost killing off characters until Resurrection repeatedly. You've set things up to where they'll have a good ending, where they'll have a happy ending, and that's all I have to say. Thank you all for watching. There are infinite timelines, time never ends, and resurrection is inevitable, and I will see you all in the next video.